Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Fotheringham, and I am the founder and principal consultant at Eastyard Enterprises. And it's my absolute pleasure to join you here today for our live series where we speak to our fellows and our accelerators who have joined us for our Eastyard Amplify Connect Creative Social Enterprise Fellowship. And today it's my absolute pleasure to get to sit and have a conversation with one of these fellows, Deneka Thomas. And Deneka has already joined and is like waving there. So, Deneka, hello, hello, hello. Do I need to invite you, Deneka, or can you send an invitation request?
We inside. Hello. I'm good. You're stuck. I'm not really you're very stuck.
What's this thing?
Hold on, maybe
Okay, you hearing me? Am I still stuck or no? I'm not hearing you. You
okay,
know,
I hear it now.
you seeing me?
I see in here, but you're also sticking.
I wonder why I don't have sticking on my end.
I think um I think the data connection a little iffy.
Okay, but I'm on a different connection though. But okay, is anything? Well, yeah, sticking still.
Yeah, it's still sticking.
Really?
Yeah, it's still sticking.
How about now?
Yeah, this is better.
Okay, all right. Okay, well, Danica, welcome, welcome.
Happy to be here. And it feels so weird being like on the other side of the just on the other side.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's sort of like if you are a videographer and you have to be videoed instead of, taking the video. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's on
just
the other side of the camera this time in
yeah.
that sense. All right. So I want to just, jump right into it. So as I mentioned when I logged on, my name is Kevin Fotheringham and I am the founder and principal consultant here at Eastyard Enterprises. And this is number 10 of our Amplify Connect Instagram Live series, where we chat with the participants of Eastyard Enterprises Amplify Connect Creative Social Enterprise Fellowship and Accelerator, which has been implemented with funding from the JB Fernandez Memorial Trust I. So big up JB Fernandez. And we have spent the past 3 months, diving into this fellowship. And Deneka, who is a team member here at ECR, as well as a fellow, has been tasked with interviewing our fellows and accelerators. And Danica, I want you to give yourself a round of applause because you've done a really wonderful job thus far. Yeah. The series has been getting really good feedback. People are loving it. And it's a joy for me to be able to look at it and even to hear the fellows and accelerators express what they have planned and, what's coming and what they have gotten from the fellowship so far. But it's more about a platform for these wonderful local creatives to share. So it's been fantastic. Thank you. But today, you are in the hot seat. Right?
Yeah.
And I want to jump right in. So, Deneka Thomas, social entrepreneur, poet, all. Deneka Thomas, creative jackknife. Yeah?
Yeah.
For those of you who are meeting Deneka for the first time, it may not be many of you, because I mean, Deneka kind of popular. But for those meeting Deneka for the first time, Deneka, how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I would say multidimensional, um, honest, and third word, multidimensional, honest, and um, a visionary.
Oh, I
I
love
feel
it.
like it kind of a little oomph to say you are a visionary, but that's how it feels. I feel like a visionary.
No, and that's fine. It's really all about what you feel, and it's about, claiming that.
Yeah,
So that is fantastic. I love that. And it's speaking it into being. So it
yeah,
means that whatever you plan to do or whatever you're doing, you have a particular vision for it.
yeah,
And that is wonderful. Yeah.
yeah.
Another, question around personality. If your personality was a color, Danica,
Right.
what would it be and why?
I choose pink just because pink is my favorite color, and I don't think people would really expect pink to be my favorite color, especially because I always wear black. Um, but I just like pink. It's just pretty, and that's how I always feel inside most times. Regardless of what going on around me. I feel like I'm always a pink. You know.
What is it about pink?
I don't know. Honestly, my mother used to dress my sister and I when we were younger in pink and blue. So I was pink and my sister was blue. Even though I feel like I present more blue, you know. Yeah, I present more blue, but because of the irony of that, like I feel like I was just I gravitated towards the pink.
Okay.
It's just very unexpected, I think. And yeah, I feel like that's just my whole life, a series of unexpected things. So pink just fits.
I like that. I like that. I didn't expect that either. So yes, that's definitely something that's unexpected. And
Yeah,
I think it's all part of being multitudinous beings. I mean, we don't have to be one thing.
correct.
And and we can love different things that, I mean, people may be even surprised that we love these things. And that's
Correct.
all part of being human.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we are intriguing, and that's beautiful. Tanika, you're a social entrepreneur
hmm
and you wear the hat of poet, educator, media practitioner, and also creative director. But which of those hats that you wear, makes you feel most alive right now? And what's fueling that?
I feel like I would say social entrepreneur because I feel like all of the other things could fall under that. And it's a term that I may have heard like here and there before, but it's now I identify with it because as an artist you're really a hustler, you know, and I feel like I get to be very creative under that umbrella. And I get to think outside of the box and be very imaginative. Um, Writer and poet will always be there to my heart because, um, that's the first thing I think I identified with, like coming out of school, everybody thinking about it, what they want to do and stuff like that. And I think poet from very early has been the thing that I feel kind of describes me the most. And
Mm.
so even everything else I feel like that I do, I kind of apply poetry to it.
Okay.
And
Okay.
yeah, yeah, poet, social entrepreneur, dancing together, just making great things. Yeah, yeah,
Awesome. Well, my first encounter with you would have been through poetry. And
yeah,
as you said, that is what you are most known for.
yeah,
And everything else has sort of, branched out from that. And talking about
yeah.
branches, we have poetry in the house. Legend, interviewing a legend. Greetings, Kieran. Let's talk a little bit about your work.
Yeah,
So, your work to me often feels rooted in the Caribbean experience.
yeah.
What aspects of Trinidad and Tobago culture do you
Mhm.
think most show up in your writing?
The I want to say the multicultural, um, multi everythingness about us. Because I feel like in my work itself, I like the images and the ideas surrounding identity.
Mhm.
And being Caribbean means that you have multiple identities. Is not you can't really identify with one thing and like just be that one thing. So yeah, the multiple identities. Um, I grew up in Belmont, in Port of Spain, so a lot of imagery from that culture and those scenes come up in my work, as well
Mhm.
as which is ironic because I'm not very religious. I mean, I grew up Catholic. My mom is Baptist, and so those things influenced my life from birth. So a lot of that type of imagery influences the way that I write, and yeah, it's mostly everything that I am around the most.
Yeah, yeah. But I think
Yeah,
that, harkens back to when you spoke about pink being your color. Because
yeah,
when we, stop to think about it, a lot of these experiences through childhood, like nature, nurture, and whatever, is what really shapes us without us even knowing that that's what's happening, you
correct,
know?
correct.
So, okay, cool. We're going to stick on poetry. We're going to stick on poetry because I first heard your name when you won the National Poetry Slam. And that was
All right.
back in 2018. You took the title. What did it
Mm-hmm.
feel like to take the Grand Slam title? And how did that moment shift things for you?
That whole situation was a little risk for me. There comes a time as an artist, I feel like when you make a conscious decision to put yourself in a particular direction, and I've had multiple of that kind of realization along the journey. Um, so I really before Slam, just to take it back a little bit, before Slam, I'd written this poem that I wrote like a year before actually, and before then I may have performed.
Have we lost Deneka? I believe we have lost Deneka. Okay, so you have me for the next 2 minutes or so. We have lost Danica. But Danica will be found shortly, just in about 2 more minutes. I just want to say hello to Alicia Reyes, one of our accelerators in the program. And also we have Kieran on the live earlier on. We had Ahmad Being. Shout out to everyone here. So just give us 2 minutes or so, and Deneka will be back on. Welcome, Jonathan, to the live. Yeah, so let me just take a few minutes then as we wait for Deneka to speak a little bit about this initiative. So the Amplify Connect Creative Social Enterprise Fellowship and Accelerator is an 8-month program that is put on by Eastside Enterprises with the support of the JB Fernandez Memorial Trust I, with the aim to amplify the capacity and the skills and the network and the ideas of a host of creative social entrepreneurs from Trinidad and Tobago. And then after that capacity building program, after that immersion into bringing their best skills forward in order to impact change through creativity, these fellows are going to launch their social impact products and services to the world. Yeah. So it's really, really exciting. It has been an absolute pleasure to spend the past 3 months with the cohort of 12 creative social entrepreneurs and really learning about their innovative ideas. So when I tell you all some of the creative social impact ideas that these fellows have, it's definitely going to blow you away. So you are talking about things from efforts to conserve our flora and fauna. We're talking about using creativity to address inclusion and bullying. We're talking about sustainable craft. We're looking at, measures to improve creative placemaking. That's in terms of bringing communities together in a space and beautifying it and uplift. It's just wonderful, wonderful. We have persons who are going to be using different types of visual art in order to create community and foster healing. It's a lot. And I mean, my goal for me, if this is to really succeed and have impact, is for them to be able to work together on initiatives and support each other. And that's why the name of this entire thing is Amplify Connect. So how can we amplify the work that they are doing in order to connect them to their communities of interest, to their communities where they can take what they have learned to really support and uplift the communities or causes that they believe are at the root of what they are doing and what they are passionate about. Yeah. So we're still waiting for Deneka to come back. Yeah, Deneka is back. So let me send an invitation. Hello, Deneka.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Hi. It's like I never left.
Right? I know. So we were talking about the slam and how did that moment shift things for you?
Yeah, so I was saying, I had this poem that I wrote a year before that slam, and it was a risky kind of poem because it's a queer poem.
Right. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people may not have known. I don't know how you could have not, but may not have known that I was queer. And everything like within its time, I felt like it was really time to perform this poem. What better stage to do it on than National Poetry Slam stage? And the poem was perfect, one shot. I don't think I did a lot of editing to that poem. And so I decided I wanted to do that piece, but I knew that performing the poem would have meant at the time I had like a lot of people who were supporting my work and stuff, and I
Right.
knew that if I performed this piece, I might lose some of them because Trinidad very conservative. But I feel like at the time that is the poem that I needed to perform. That was I was very very and
Um, I think we lost your volume for a little while. Let me talk and let me hear you.
Yeah, one,
Yeah.
two.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I decided to perform it and I didn't know if it would win or not. I didn't go into that slam thinking, hey, I'm going to win. I just felt like this poem is the poem people need to hear. And so winning was very surprising to me. But it told me that I was right in choosing that time to perform it. People felt like they connected with the message. And it was good because, sometimes you really feel like belonging to like a part of a minority community
Hmm.
means that you don't get the same opportunities, especially in Trinidad. Like being a part of the LGBT community means that um, you're excluded from a lot of things, and people feel types of ways about you that isn't the best. So it really just solidified that the work that I was doing was important work, and the poems that I was writing was important poems. And after the slam, it had a couple of people came up to me and they told me about their experiences and all of that, and it created like a whole discussion. And up to today, there are people who still mention like how much that poem
That
helped them
impacted. Hmm.
journey and impacted them. Yeah. So it was just like like it really affirmed. If I was in doubt of the reason why I was doing what I was doing at that time, it really affirmed that, hey, this journey that you're on, um yeah, keep on it and keep doing it because it's important and it's necessary. So it was great, and it was more than the cash prize. It was about that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, firstly, congratulations, but also kudos on making the decision to put yourself out there like that.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot different where you are creating content that deals with something that is not directly affecting you or is
Yeah. Yeah.
not directly speaking about you. So,
Yeah.
I mean, congratulations on that. And nothing happens before its time. What is to is, must is, and that was your time to is, basically. You know? And you have not stopped because this year you were in the finalist again. You were in the finals again as
Yeah.
a fifth time finalist. Why do you keep going back to the slam?
Yeah, National Poetry Slam is a stage, making it to the semi-final stage or the final stage is a platform to get your voice heard, to share a important message that in most cases will be put down in history, whether it's a good history or a bad history. If you go up there and you bust, then it's a bad history. But um, it is a platform and a necessary space in sharing and the sentiments and sharing issues and sharing concerns as a people, as young people. I kind of think about it as a way to, for me now, is a way for me to remind people that this going on sound bad, but hey, Deneka's still here and Deneka's still bad. Right? It's a way for me to also show my growth and show my it's for myself as well to like show people like where I'm at mentally. So I feel like the progression of my pieces really do tell like where I'm at. When I in 2018 when I won, I did that poem about the closet. I think that poem name is Chronicles of a Ranting Closet. In 2019, at the finals I did the Larger Blessed piece, which was it was a pretty decent piece. And then we had, I can't remember what piece I did. I think I did a piece about a year about like another queer piece
Mhm.
about just how people see us as like these horrific things. And this year was the poem about basically like me bashing, not bashing, but holding poets up to a spotlight, holding performers like myself, the audience, the judges, everybody up, against the light and telling them to really review how they interact with this type of platform. You
Yeah.
know, telling the poets, hey, you know, y'all being a little bit too fanatical and taking this thing for
Mm.
kicks and not really coming and saying anything worthy of substance. Because that's why I really see the platform as like, yes, it's okay to joke and kicks and thing, but what legacy you're leaving
Yeah.
behind at the same time, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
it really, really shows me like the growth of thought and um, just my own mindset moving forward across time. But also to let people know that, hey, thing are real bad, you
It's still bad.
know.
All right. Okay. When you were speaking a few times, I'm not even sure if you would have realized, you said words like space, you said words like platform,
Mm-hmm.
and you went on to create just that.
Yeah,
So you went on to create Bacano Leaf, and through Bacano Leaf, you have bars, you have which is the poetry slam,
yeah,
and for those of you all who don't know, Baz was here at East at one point in time, so I got to witness firsthand what Deneka was doing and what type of platform they were providing. And from the get-go, from the jump, it was awesome. It was, the poetry slam to be at. It was
yeah.
excellent. And you had people coming from all different parts of the country up here to Arima, and it was excellent. I loved it. So, Danica, what inspired you to start that initiative? And what does the name Bacano Leaf mean to you?
I, that second question is a good question. I don't get asked that enough. So I always had qualms about the fact that there wasn't enough things happening for poets to be engaged in outside of National Poetry Slam. There were a few open mics. Um, and if you're a seasoned performer, then you would get to do performances, paid performances throughout
Yeah,
the year. But as a upcoming performer, I do feel like even with the open mics and stuff it had, UE Speak, USC Speak, they didn't really have like a community aspect to it. You come, you perform, you leave, and that's it. I've always dreamed of creating a space where poets could commune. And well, even further beyond that, some of the dreams that haven't been actualized yet, right? And so I think traveling to the US is
hmm,
amazing. How some of my best ideas has really come from traveling, but traveling to the US for my first poetry thing, I went to Chicago for a program called Right to the City, and it was amazing to me how they just had this summer poetry program for not just poets but for educators. And I
hmm,
was threading the line on being both because I was a teaching artist and a poet at the time. And then me and the Roots Foundation, we went to San Francisco, like right after Chicago. We flew to San Francisco to do Brave New Voices. I was coaching the Brave New Voices team that year, along with Michael Logie and Emmanuel Villafana. Was it Emmanuel? I think, yeah, Emmanuel. And it was the best thing I have ever experienced in my life. An entire spoken word poetry festival, and the way these people live, breathe, and just photosynthesize the
the art.
craft.
Yeah. Hmm.
And everything is spoken word poetry and community and creating a space for like-minded individuals to convene and just do what they had to do, just enjoy the space and be inspired. And when I looked at home, we didn't really have anything like that. Like we have Bocas Lit Fest, which is for the literary arts, for writers and poets, yes, but not spoken word poets. And even though they had National Poetry Slam, it was nothing like what I experienced when I traveled.
Hmm.
Um, and I made a note that year. I was like, I feel like this is something we need to do, you know? And then throw that dream and that idea away. And then maybe in 2019, I think I went to New York and I performed at Eureka Poets Cafe.
Right.
And I just chat everybody up and try to find out like how this thing is, da, 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 and perform, and the energy was so good, and the conversations after. So it was more than just the performance, like the I was just vibes and being myself, and the audience was just feeling it, and I was like, this is something that we need. And so I came home and I wrote some notes down and I did my little plan on how I'm going to do this thing. And then COVID happened.
Yeah.
And then I was like, look at how we don't even have anything happening. Everybody who was doing spoken word poetry things, just everything came to a halt
Yeah.
because funding came to a halt. And I was like, this is my time again. And I was like, if I don't do it now, when? And I started my virtual, I launched back on Olive. And we started with a virtual open mic. And the rest
Awesome.
is history from there.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the name back on Olive came from I think every yard that I've had since I was a child had a back and olive tree in it. And my mom is a bushwoman, like she does
Yeah.
go and
Yeah.
planting. And so I grew up knowing which bush good for what. Which bush you could boil for this, which bush you could boil to ease your period pains and for the cold and for the asthma and whatever. And back and olive, the back and olives were one of those multi
Yeah. Yeah.
purpose
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
you know. You could make tea with it, you could wash your hair with it, you could use it for your skin. And I just like the idea of a space being so facilitating of
Mm-hmm.
healing and just it holds space for you to use it for so many different things, but most importantly, your growth and your healing. And I just felt like back and Olive, yeah, but that name tough. Yeah. So that's where it came from, yeah.
I like the thought process behind it because
Yeah,
a lot of what you do, but not just what you do, a lot of who you are, as I mentioned earlier on, is multidimensional
yeah,
and multifunction. So I think, yeah, that's the perfect name. The
yeah,
next
yeah.
question I was going to ask you, I'll probably frame it a little differently because I think you would have answered it sort of before, but
Okay,
why not? Um, it's again, it's about being multitudinous, and you work so closely with youth and other audiences through workshops, retreats, other types of creative engagement, etc., etc., etc. What is one transformation that you have witnessed in someone who has participated in one of your initiatives that
yeah,
still moves you? So one instance where you were blown away and you were like, wow, I know
right,
that I'm really supposed to be doing this. So you got the impact that you sought.
yeah. I think I have a lot of those after I perform poems. So like I work with Girl Be Heard, and we had those in droves, to the point where like people who I would have taught through Girl Be Heard, and they went on to perform theater arts, and now they themselves are teaching artists. And I find I really young to have people who out of school and doing well, and like could reflect and be like, "Wait, boy, I taught that person XYZ."
Mm,
I find I got too old too quick. But after performances, I am always, or those types of engagements, I'm always reminded that this is the reason why I am I'm doing what I'm doing. I think one of the most transformative things is I don't know if, well, a lot of people who come to Back and Olive know stragglers. And in the early Back and Olive days when we were doing only virtual, it had this group of boys from South, Jaron, Joel, Jabari, Tevin, these fellas who every single event, every live, every
mm,
job, they showing up, they sending me work. We used to look Shania saying, the early days when we used to do the
prompts.
prompt stuff. And I used to have these little challenges, just to keep the poets active, keep them doing and creating, and every day I would get poems in my inbox for me to read and for me to rank and for me to this. And they always used to come to the workshops late. or just the slack, the dedicated, I don't know about the little slack.
They came. Yeah. Yeah.
I made the joke and I was like stragglers, and for them to come back like how much years now? Like 3 years now, almost 4 years now, and they have their own poetry group and they are performing group poems, and to see their growth as poets, like they are amazing poets, and to see how even when, they perform in spaces or they just perform on their own and people kind of just always intrigued with this group of fellas performing their poems. Like I think every time that happens, and it happens frequently, I'm like, yes,
Mm.
but that is reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. And um it's just a joy. It's just a joy to see people grow and to see. I was writing a paper. I wrote a paper for school last semester, and it was about poetry. I had to write an article, and I wrote in the article that the good thing about the career that I chose is that you don't have to wait years to see the fruits of your labor.
Mm.
Sometimes you see the fruits of your
Immediate.
labor
Mhm.
literally the second after
Yeah.
performing, or
Yeah. Yeah.
you see it very, very soon after. So as it's just a cycle of reaffirming, hey, this is why we do anything. I don't have to get in this existential crisis and be like, why here, Lord? What's my purpose?
You know your purpose.
I know what it is. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Okay. So talking about purpose. So talking about purpose, and I'm going to bust one of your files here for those who may not have seen it as yet.
Yeah,
But Bacano leaf, like a Bacano tree, is
yeah,
growing. Is growing. It's growing.
yeah,
And there is this saying that if you are not blossoming, you are rotting. Right? So
yeah,
if something is not growing, it means that it is rotting, it's dying.
yeah,
So volcano leaf is growing and is growing by leaps and bounds, and I'm excited to see it happen.
yeah,
And one of the initiatives coming up, one of the taglines or what jumped out to me from what you presented was stories, funding stories. So, for those who don't know, there's an upcoming initiative from Bacano Leaf for the Bacano bookstore. And I think that is such a smart and I would say soulful
yeah.
and creatively, socially impactful venture. So, what sparked the idea in you, Danica, to now collect and resell donated books in order to fund Caribbean storytelling?
Yeah, so I always had the idea to open not just a bookstore, but a like have a space where I have like a cafe and a performance, like a multi-purpose space,
I get
right?
it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there used to be this cafe that I used to perform in long time in I think it's St. Augustine. I can't remember the name of it now, but the lady was so sweet. And I think for the first time performing there, that little idea was planted. Yeah, I feel like a coffee shop is like a real cool thing. Um, and then um, I like books, I read a lot. Over the past year, I really rededicated myself to reading and immersing myself in books the way that I used to. And yeah, the idea was there, and I remember a couple of months ago, I talking to my partner, and I was like, I really feel like my destiny is to have a bookshop. And just have this space where people could come and they could have coffee or tea or a light snack, and it'd have the bookshop there. They could buy a book, they could bring books, they could
Yeah,
donate books,
yeah.
then have where that space is back and only space where people could perform. So it's just a bunch of different things happening. And then when you had mentioned in the fellowship that we have to we have to launch a new product or service, for a social enterprise. I was like, at first I was like, what the hell I going and launch? What the hell I going and do? Bars already pack and pumping with amazing fun things. The workshops already pumping. What am I going to do? And so this trip for New Orleans with Roots Foundation came up, and it's amazing how things just fall in place
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Lego blocks, and you don't really ever see how the universe making connections for you. But I feel like every single thing that we do and every decision we make culminates to a moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nothing is by happenstance, because what are the odds I brought that idea back up, then I got to get to go on this trip. And then one of the things I told myself is that I have to visit a few used bookshops when I go to the States. And that wasn't for the bookshop. The bookshop wasn't an idea that it was an idea planted, but it wasn't actualized yet.
Yeah.
And so me and Jaron and Kelsey, we bookshop hopped, and let me tell you, those bookshops were lovely. I was
Mm.
I was like a kid in a candy store, and I wasn't holding back. Like, I feel like they will remember my reaction to these places for the rest of their life. I was like so amazed. And at the end of our first day of visiting bookshops, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna open a
You're
used
ready.
book.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
what I want to do. Just imagine you're walking the store and there's books towering over you, and you have this little cute little bookkeeper there, and he reading, and I saw myself in him. And then it had a little cat under some crates of books, and they didn't pay a lot of attention to make the place look perfect.
No,
The
it's be comfortable.
Yeah, it was just
Mhm.
an experience of authentic, just vintage, used book. The smell of the space, everything was just very, very unique, and not polished at all. And
Yeah.
that the first one, the name of the bookstore is Beckham's Bookshop, in the French Quarter, if anybody ever visits. And I was like, yo, this is what I going to do. And I came home very, very excited. And I told my partner, and I was like, hey, they what we doing? And when I came back to work the following Thursday, I
Yeah.
told you, I said, on, this is what I'm going to do. I'm gonna open a used bookshops. I'm gonna make it so that it's funded books, because the goal is to have the proceeds from the bookshop support the work that we're doing at Back and Relief. And you love the idea, and I was like, well, okay, right,
That's it.
nothing.
That's
That's
it.
it.
Yeah. That's it.
So,
I could just imagine because, as I told you, I think I told you, I told a lot of other people, I've been to several states and cities, but I really want to go to New Orleans as one of my to-dos.
yeah,
So I am looking forward to having my own New Orleans experience, you know?
yeah,
But
different.
I think it's a wonderful idea. And I'm not going to ask you anything else about that bookstore here on this live. I want them to wait for when you drop it on them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah?
yeah,
Wait for when you drop it on them.
yeah,
But
yeah,
that
yeah.
leads me right to the question of, you've been part of the fellowship now for 3 months. And I want to ask you, what have you taken away from it personally and professionally?
Professionally, I think, again, that this whole thing, like everything that brought me to this moment, has been, I think it was ordained for it to happen this way. And that song a little woo-woo, especially from somebody religious, but nothing is happenstance. And so just being a part of the fellowship is like, not to sound crazy, but it's an answered prayer, because um for a few years, well, I've been telling myself, Deneka, you actually need a mentor. Like, I feel like in order for me to take my business and all of the initiatives that I want to do, and in order for me to grow to that next step, I need to have a mentor. I can't keep doing things on my own and trying to figure things out on my own. And um we are communal beings as human
Yeah,
beings.
yeah,
We need support, out, and we need people steering us in the right direction. As much as I am a multi-dimensional person, I can't do it on my own. I
Yeah.
need help.
Yeah.
And so I think the first most important thing that I've gotten from this fellowship is that mentorship. And I think for me, being in the fellowship and being like working at ECR and having you at like arm's reach. We'll literally be here and I'll be like, hey, come on, da 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 da, and I will bounce ideas off of you. And I think people underestimate how important those type of connections are. And like, I think every creative being, every social entrepreneur should have figures like that in their lives. I think if I had a something like this earlier,
Yeah.
I'd probably be further
So
along.
long. Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, things happen for a reason, and
Time.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
younger version of Deneka would not have been able to absorb and appreciate the lessons being learned now and the branches that kind of shooting out of me now to extend into all of these different things. So just that mentorship and the community. I think the business model canvas was brilliant as well because it's such a less intimidating way to think about creating
A business.
and
Yeah.
ideas,
Mhm.
businesses, whatever they may be, and it's so easy to do. I think I could teach somebody to do it. Like it's so easy,
Well,
you
you're
know.
going to have to. You're going to have to. That's part of the project. So yeah, just saying, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So a lot of the people in the program I kind of already knew. So for me, I always had a community. I always had people like, people always around because of this thing, the type of work that I'm doing. But just having that additional mentorship has been chef's kiss.
Okay, thank you. And I mean, the whole, notion of starting a business, especially for entrepreneurs who are starting a business,
Yeah,
most successful businesses started by people are businesses that first solve their own problems.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And as you spoke about mentorship, um, I have been in the sector, the nonprofit sector, the creative sector, different sectors for many years, and I have never really had like a solid mentor for whatever reason. I mean, I would have worked with people and, had bosses and stuff who were stellar and I got things from them, but not
yeah,
necessarily to say that they were my mentor.
yeah,
And
yeah,
for me now, being able to step into a role as a mentor, um, is that you all are also mentoring me in that
yeah,
sense because when you present your ideas and stuff, it makes me even sharper because I have to come up with feedback. I have to give a response. I now have to go research. I spend all day researching different initiatives that are similar to the ones
yeah,
that you all are presenting.
yep,
So it's like that give and take. And you said we are communal beings. And for me, this is the most impactful and the most joyful that I have been in the past 2 years in terms of doing work. So
yeah,
for me, I am getting a lot more from this than you all are getting, and
yeah.
it's fantastic. So I just
Well, you're
love
welcome.
it.
I'm glad we
Yeah,
could be of service.
yeah, yeah. um, so you spoke a lot about the importance of traveling abroad, and I think people they sleep on that. Yes,
Yeah,
it's yes said and done. A lot of us will not get the opportunity to travel here, there, and everywhere. But there is the internet. There is AI. You just put in a question. And as I told you all earlier on, I don't think anything is really new per se. A lot has been done, but everything is innovative because you can take an idea that is already there and build on it and make it yours. You
yeah,
know? So you have had the opportunity to travel. You have graced many stages locally and internationally.
yeah.
So I have you on my list because I don't want to say it from the top of my head. But you have graced the TEDx Port of Spain stage,
Mm-hmm.
Women Deliver, in 2019 in Vancouver, the Nairobi Summit. And most recently, as you just said, you went to New Orleans for performances.
Mm-hmm.
And I know there are more, but these are the ones that I am choosing. Which of these experiences stands out the most to you and why?
Um,
So you have TEDx Women Deliver Nairobi Summit and your recent New Orleans trip.
I what stands out the most
And why?
and why? I think that that's a hard question.
I know.
That's a hard one because for all of them, I got different things
Something from it, yeah.
I think I appreciated. Um,
But you have to choose one.
one
Yeah.
that's key. I would say probably Vancouver.
Okay.
Because I feel like it was the first big thing that I did, first like big international thing, and I was a part of that program for a year after being accepted, and I met so many interesting people there that I still have relationships with till today. Just seeing how passionate people are about issues that I was also passionate about, sexual and reproductive
Mhm.
health and rights, and getting to perform. Like, people feel like you can't follow a cause and do exactly what you want to do. Like, if you're an artist and you care about the political state of the world or the environment, you can't reflect that in your work.
You're supposed
Um,
to.
because I've always stayed to myself in my work. Like, I
Mhm.
have a piece that I don't 100% believe in or didn't 100% represent me at that time. Like, I don't just do a piece for fun, you
Right.
know? I'll do fun pieces, but I wouldn't just do a piece for just doing a piece sake. Which is why I don't really like, one of my least favorite things to do is like commission pieces because people be coming with some real wild things, and I'm not the type of poet who go and perform a poem for a company about their history and thing. Like, that's not who I am as a poet. I don't want to perform no piece about your CEO and talk about how great he is and how no. So I've always liked sticking to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I think are important. So I think that was my first international opportunity where it was like, yeah, these people know who I am and they know what I care about, and I was selected on that merit. And I get to travel to this place to talk about things that matter in the world, but the way that I do it best.
You don't feel that.
And
Yeah.
that opened a lot of doors for me as well. So I think Vancouver, not to mention Vancouver is really pretty and
Mm-hmm.
reminded me of home. I'm like, why the mountains looking like the northern rain? So
Oh,
so yeah,
lovely.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a nice segue into my next question. Um, so we spoke about your work and you being multitudinous. I mean, if you haven't guessed by now, that's one of my favorite words. So,
Yeah, yeah.
um, so your work spans gender issues, LGBTQ plus issues and advocacy, women's empowerment, youth empowerment, even environmentalism.
Yeah.
So, in one sentence, how has your own experience of identity shaped the way that you approach these causes?
How has my
Your
experience?
own experience of identity
Okay.
shaped how you approach causes.
Um, I think, good that question, anyway. My experience on identity has been a very tumultuous one. Maybe one day I'll get an opportunity to speak about that a little bit more. But I think I have had to do a lot of figuring it out on my own.
Mm,
So I think that maybe if I wasn't a minority person myself,
yeah.
that I still would have I still would have chosen these issues or be attracted to these issues. And I think that even though my identity has been tumultuous, like coming into myself wasn't easy and it wasn't straightforward. I have made my work, I feel like I've made my work accessible enough so that people don't have to struggle to figure out what the hell it is I'm trying to say or figure out what I'm talking about or know who I am based on like what I create, you know? So my goal is to make it very easy for people to know who I am in my work. That was in
And
one
then
sense.
what you're trying to say, what you're
And
trying
what
to say here.
I'm trying
Yeah.
to say,
Yeah.
yes, I guess even self the legacy that I want to leave behind. I can't see a scholar taking a
Yeah, what you're going.
in the future like that
Mhm.
that can happen.
And there you've just answered the questions. It wasn't that hard. Yeah, just you've answered your question. Um, if you met 12-year-old Deneka tomorrow,
Hmm.
what do you think you would say to them?
12-year-old Deneka boy. I remember 12-year-old Deneka. I don't remember a lot of things, but I remember that. What would I tell 12-year-old Deneka? I would tell 12-year-old Deneka to not be afraid. Um, Danica used to be real fearful of real things. I mean, I'm still fearful for a lot of things now, but I do it afraid. You
Yeah,
know, I
yeah.
do it scared. I do it anxious. Um, I think 12-year-old Danica would not take risks. Would seclude themselves from opportunities for fear of failure, and even when I did well as a 12-year-old, I didn't think it was good enough. You know, I would get
Mhm.
in my test and I would bawl my eyes out and cry and mope and not feel any kind of sense of accomplishment. Feeling that sense of accomplishment is a new thing for me. So I would encourage 12-year-old me to really do it regardless and trust that everything else will figure itself out after. Like no experience is useless, so put
Mhm.
yourself in spaces to experience things. Because there's so many things I missed out on as a youth because I was
Mhm.
just afraid. And you grow up in a household where you don't have much support as a youth. It not nurtured into you. So yeah, yeah.
Carrie Alyssa is saying 12-year-old Danica would be in amazement. Yeah.
I can't see
I
the
want you
comment.
to give 12-year-old Danica a hug. Give them a
Yeah,
hug.
yeah. I just
Yeah?
hug myself, so we came off from the retreat. This is something I do for myself often. I just hug and kiss myself, give myself a little kiss on the shoulder here, and just feel my warmth and just yeah. That's not nothing. It's
Good.
not new. It's something that I actively actually do. I thought it was weird, but it's like I'm loving on me.
No, I mean when I do something that I think is really good, I'm like Kevin, get them. That's what it is for me. I'm like, yeah, get them. That was real good. And if you're not able to congratulate yourself, and if you are not able to realize when you have done a good job,
Yeah.
then there is something there that needs to be worked on. Yeah?
For sure, for sure, for sure.
Rapid fire round.
That's Alicia.
Rapid fire round. One. Quick answers. Let's do it. Thinking on your feet.
Okay.
You are a reader. You want to open a bookstore. You're writing book, ting, ting, ting.
Yeah.
What book changed your life?
The Alchemist.
Why?
You know, it's that message, that same message about anything that you want to do, any dream you could think of, the universe will conspire to make it happen. That was profound for me because, geez, Paulo Coelho is just amazing.
I love
Yeah.
that book. Yeah. All right. Rapid fire two. The song that would be the soundtrack to your life right now because it changes. So right now.
Right now,
Yeah.
um, Jessie Reyes has a song called Free from her new album. That song is fire. I've been having it on replay. That and when I get a little toxic, even though I'm in a relationship, but in my mind now, in my mind, there's a new song by Giveon, 20s. I like that song too. Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, I mean, you will take the jamming when you go home. So when you saying that you so say that that's one of your song tracks, but that's not my
Yeah,
business. You say
yeah,
it.
yeah.
If not poetry, then what else would you be doing?
Making films, filmmaking.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Um, loving it, loving it. So in your bio you sent, you mentioned that we will be blessed with a book at some point in time soon.
Yeah.
Um, these hallowed parts. You don't have to say what is in the book.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to say when it's coming out,
Mm-hmm.
but just what inspired you to want to drop the book now.
I have been working on that book since 2020, and the book, I can tell you what the book is about. The book is about my journey as a, like, my journey through, I'd say through, my queerness. And so from childhood to now, although there aren't a lot of poems about how I feel within the last 2 years.
Right. Mhm.
But it is still a journey through my queerness, and it is very raw, and it is very. It. I think if you read it, I imagine that, like, every time somebody reads that book, I will just feel naked. Like anytime people are talking about it, I'll probably just feel very exposed and feel a little bit too seen. But I feel like
You
I
need that.
haven't read much book
Yeah.
where people are like that raw about their
Yeah.
experiences. I've read a few. Um, as always say this, Shivani's book, Everyone Knows I'm a Haunting, is amazing, and I think reading that gave me the courage, like, I can be this raw, like, this is what we doing, just take it to the extreme immediately. I feel like people need to hear some of those stories. So what inspired me to write it is just, I mean, I'm a writer. I've always wanted to
Yeah.
write.
Yeah.
Publish. That's a dream. Um, why I want to publish now is just because I feel like what better time than now to share some of those stories and those poems and kind of create discussions around them, and let me just do the thing. Is these hollow parts, and like I was telling you all before that, like a lot of my work centers around very Caribbean experiences,
Yeah.
but also,
Yeah.
if the name doesn't give it away, there are a lot of um, religious imagery
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
throughout throughout the poem. I feel like this is the same thing with, like, when I told you that when I was going to perform for, my idea is that if you read the book, is either you fall in love with Deneka and Deneka's work more, or you just fling the book and you be like, blasphemy. Yeah. It really might divide an audience, but that is necessary. If your work not being critical about things and dividing audiences, then I feel like it's not really doing what
It
it's
should.
supposed to.
Yeah. Yeah. No, well, that's wonderful. I mean, congratulations on that. We're looking forward to it. And
Yeah.
but just that you said, the whole act of, when you think people read it, you're going to feel raw because it's so deep. It's exposing. It's so, and I think not I mean, I don't like to put the Caribbean down in anything that I do because I'm about, uplifting the Caribbean. But a
Yeah,
lot of what, writing or even art or film or that kind of thing that comes out of the other countries
yeah,
has a lot more rawness to it sometimes, a lot more depth.
yeah,
People are more exposed because, again, culturally, we have not been indoctrinated into speaking truly and freely and expressing
yeah,
ourselves in a certain way.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that will be a really impactful publication, and also to see the reactions, whether,
yeah,
as
yeah.
you said,
See,
positive or negative.
yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what art is about.
I,
Art is not supposed to be something that is universally loved. It's
yeah,
supposed to give you a reaction, whatever that
correct.
reaction is.
Yeah,
Whether it gets you angry or whether you fall in love with it or whether it makes you think. And I
yeah,
mean, it's really about what this art is going to make you feel and make you think. So I'm
yeah.
looking forward to reading it. I'm looking forward. Um, so we talk about the book, we talk about the bookstore, we talk about Volcano Leaf, we talk about all kind of thing. So for those people who are looking on who don't know you, or those who will view this after when it's posted to the page and onto the YouTube channel, how can people support and contact and get in touch with Volcano Leaf?
Easy, just search Bacano Leaf on Instagram. And it's spelled Bacano, Bacano. Not the regular way,
Volcano, yeah. Mhm.
We just wanted to stand out and make it easy and accessible for people to find the page like it's spelled the way it sounds. Um, with regards to right now, if you all have books that you all want to donate, message me, right? Because the idea is for the bookstore to sell donated books, gently loved donated books. And as Kevin said, the idea is for stories to fund stories. So I think that's the best way you could support us right now. Come to the show. We have a show on June the 28th, Saturday, June the 28th, featuring Cameron Bruno, and that's gonna be amazing. We flying Cameron in, we flying Cameron in to do this thing. And this whole thing that is self-funded. I haven't gotten um, funding from any donor or anything to do Bacano Leaf. Bacano Leaf has been completely self-funded, which I pride myself on
That's
because
wonderful. Yeah. Hmm.
somebody else would give up, and I don't give up easily. At least now. I used to, but now, within the past 5 years, giving up is not an option.
It's
So
nothing. But what's
yeah,
even
so
more amazing about what you're doing with Volcano Leaf and the slam itself is that you are able to afford a prize to people. So I think
yeah,
that is epic. You know?
yeah, for sure,
Yeah, yeah.
for
That's not
sure.
something that happens on an ongoing basis locally.
Correct.
So and then what you are doing and being able to self-fund that, I think is wonderful. And it's only up from there. So,
For
Deneka,
sure.
one last question from me before I open up the floor for one or two questions because we've been speaking for over an hour.
Yeah.
Um, any final message for young creatives, young social entrepreneurs who are starting right now?
Um, yeah. My what comes to mind right now is to keep dreaming and dream until you could put action behind the dream. Until you could see the dream become like an actual living, breathing thing. The dream has to be a passion and a desire before, and it's okay to have a dream for a very long time as well. I think that we really do feel neglected when people don't buy into our dreams and don't believe in our dreams, don't support it, don't nurture it. But I think we just have to do that for ourselves. And even if, as a young person, even if you feel like you're not getting that support, let that be the fuel to prove them wrong. Because, much things I do for bad mind. real things I do off a bad mind. I remember when I
Yeah.
had now, I ain't gonna stay long, but I remember when I had now decided that I wanted to become a poet. That was in 2012, and I told my family that this is what I wanted to do, and them laugh. They laugh. They laugh. They was like, "How you gonna pay the bills? Like, we no, why you gonna do that?" But I had a dream for myself, and I've since then, since 2012 to now, I've never given up on that dream, even when people told me I couldn't do it. And I love when people tell me I can't
You
do things.
can. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Never
Yeah.
a bad thing. And it's not that I've proven anything to them, but it's just like, it's just motivation to want to do it and to push to do it even more. So yeah,
It's turning a negative into a positive. It's turning, the fork into the road or the speed bump into fuel. So
of
it's
course,
fine. Yeah, it's
it's
fine.
not.
So I'll just read some of the comments. Alicia is saying, I can't wait for that book reveal. Danae, in and out of the life, but I just want to say, Deneka, you are amazing. I admire the way you carry yourself. Can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Oh,
Blessing.
thank you.
Walter is asking the time of the show and the venue. So it's at Think Artwork in Port of Spain. And what's the time?
It starts at doors open at 6:30 and the show starts at 7.
Okay. Alicia Reyes is asking, who will Danica wish to collaborate with?
Um, I have an idea that I've been sitting on for a very, very long time, but I don't want to I would not share the idea.
Don't share
I
it
don't
yet. Don't
the
share it.
date, but I would love to collaborate with some visual artists. Let me do something nice. I have the idea. Reach out to me at some point. We have to execute that idea, but visual artists and um, musicians.
Okay.
So not like a who, because it could be anybody really.
Right,
We
right,
have a
right.
lot of visual artists in the fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, of course, that would be my first point of contact, but yeah, I would really love to work with some visual artists and some musicians. Although I am working with a musician right now,
Right.
so
Janae said, let's go, eh? Janae is like, let's go.
yeah,
Alicia's like,
they
yeah.
really need to figure out if we's family on some kind of pumpkin vibe, kind
I know, right?
of.
um, so I would now open up the floor for anyone else who has questions to Danica. We'll take two questions because two of us came from our staff retreat and we haven't had lunch as yet and I'm hungry. So it's 1 p.m. So we'll take two questions.
So funny.
If anybody has any questions or comments, going once, going twice, going three times. Oh, Danica, remind them about your workshop.
Oh yeah, I have a workshop coming up this week.
Can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, right. Mhm.
So we have a workshop this week. It's called Play on Words, and it is a writing workshop. It's happening Thursday at East. It starts at 6 p.m. The cost is $60, and we ain't saying cost, we saying contribution. You're also going to get light refreshments at the workshop,
Okay.
so come through. Check out the page. Go and register with the link in the bio on Back and Leaf page. There's things happening every month, every month, every month, every month.
Awesome. Okay. Cool. Well, thank you so much, Danica. It's been a pleasure. I've seen a lot of you over the last few days, so it's not to say I'm not going to see you again. I've been seeing you a lot. So it's fine. No, but really, it has been wonderful. And yeah, so thank you so much for your honesty, for your bravery, for your rawness, and for your overall fearlessness and your need to provide spaces and platforms. So thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Danica. And
Thank
now
you.
let's have lunch. I'll see you next door. All right.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Thanks everybody for coming and tuning in.